Hey everybody, welcome back to My Sweet Home Living. Tracey Campbell here. If you missed me earlier, guess what? We're back for round 2 in today's coffee and cocoa theme day and the Craft on the Clock group. Well, you all know that I love crafting with coffee all day long, every day, right? So I thought we had a cancellation. Something didn't work out with one of our presenters. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to hop in here and let's get busy on another coffee themed project. If you missed this morning's video, I showed you guys how to make a real simple, the basic coffee grunge mix. Talked about the tips and the tricks on that. So you'll catch the replay if you want to see how to do that. We also talked about the basics of baking fabric, fabric strips, fabric cutouts and things like that, how to store them, how I store mine, and some tips and tricks on how to use those. And I just finished a fresh baked batch of crispy grunged fabric. We answered some coffee grunge questions because coffee grunge and baking fabrics kind of go hand in hand. And for some of you, it's a new concept. So we talked about that, did a fresh batch of these little coffee circle rounds out of muslin fabric. So lots of good tips and info if you're interested in that on this morning's replay. And I also showed you how to make one of my little mini grubby jars. Now my mini grubby jar is sitting off to the side. It's drying, but I've got the larger version that I showed you. We did a two-step. We did a small one and a larger one. This one was already dried, so I was able to kind of show you the finished look after walking you through the process of creating one of these. And this one still has to dry on the top, but you could add a label to this before you grub it. You could add a tag to this. You could add a rusty star, all kinds of options for this. But I love tucking these in little displays in my kitchen area or in my dining room, or just wherever you got a sweet little spot you need to tuck something. They're perfect for that. So what we're going to work on this time around is still primitive style, but it's more of a farmhouse style. So it's going to be a coffee jar. And if you've seen some of the coffee jars I've done in the last few weeks, I did some of those on a Buy It Now post. You guys, some of you have one of my coffee jars in your home. We're going to do one that's similar to that today to show you how to do those. And some neat little tricks on working with the Mod Podge and getting a little bit more of a grungy effect. If you're not going with the grubby technique, I love this, but this takes a while to cure and dry. So I'm going to show you a quick method on how to get a primitive style jar using just some basic chalk paint, some Mod Podge instant coffee, and of course, a vintage primitive inspired label. Hey, Miss Sherry, I know, twice in one day. I hardly ever go live once in a week. So twice in one day, whew, that's a record. That's a record. Thank you all so much for being here. So I have pulled out some big jars. Big jars. So let me kind of tilt this away. Hello, Miss Pammy. I know, we just never get to go twice in one day. So y'all maybe get sick of me after today. So I've pulled out some big jars. We're going to go big or go home today, right? That seems to be the theme and the motto around here. I have one big, I think this was maybe jalapeno jar, like sliced jalapenos. I don't know. This is ginormous. I don't know the ounces because I've already peeled the label off of this one. I thought I was going to use this one, but I thought, no, I'm going to hold off. I kind of want to have a better plane in mind before I use this one because it's so big. This would be a huge statement piece, so I really want to plane this one out. But giving you some thoughts and ideas here. Good to use a pickle jar too, which is what we're going to use. This is a pickle jar, but it's bigger than the pickle jars that I typically use. Now, the size of pickle jars that I typically use is more like this one. And I'll hold this one up. All I have is, I'm setting this one down in some hot water. So if you have some jars and they still have labels on them, just set them down in a bowl of warm water. Let them sit and soak. And usually they'll peel right off, usually. Now this one, let's see how many ounces. This is a 46-ounce jar. So I know it's bigger than this one. See the difference, the comparison there? I'm trying to hold it eye level. You can see this one's much bigger, even much bigger around even. So then this is the one I typically use. So we're going a little bit bigger. So I've had this setting in some hot water so I could just show you guys what I do to get my labels off. And these pickle jar labels just usually peel right off. Like they are a breeze. Can't get much easier than that. I just use my fingers and just peel it right off. And if it doesn't come all off in one round, I just set it back down in that water and let it soak just a little bit more. Take a dish sponge or like a bottle brush, something that's a little bit more abrasive, and it'll get it off too. But how easy is that? Now let me grab my little dish sponge and I will sponge off what's left of that. I'm going to use the kind of the scrubby side, and it comes right off, and then it's ready to use. Now on this jar I'm going to use chalk paint. Can it be done on plastic, Lisa? It probably can. I'm always hesitant to say yes because you just never know with plastic. Sometimes plastic is coated with even an extra, I don't know, extra something that makes it even more slick than what it would be typically. So and plus it depends on the thickness of plastic. You know what I mean? Like some plastic is extra bendy, you know, and if it's extra flexible, did you like the word bendy? If it's extra flexible, then your paint is probably going to be more likely to crack and crumble off. Okay, so you would have to use your own judgment on that. I really don't know. It just depends. Hey, Miss Cynthia, how are you? So if you have other questions, I think this will be a little bit slower pace live than what we did this morning. We crammed a bunch in this morning. So if you have questions, I probably will be more likely to be able to see and answer your questions on this live. I'm going to dump this water out real quick and dry our jar off. And while this is drying, we'll get busy on the label and mixing our paint. Now, I probably could scrub that a little bit more. I've got just a little bit of that glue left on there, but it's not a lot. And it's probably not even going to show with the method that we're going to use today. So I just want to make sure the outside is good and dry. I'm going to try to wipe it clean without touching the outside with my hands, because that'll put a little extra, you know, finger oils on there. And sometimes it can affect how your paint attaches. You're off work today, Miss Shayna. That's awesome. So what are you doing today, Miss Shayna? You don't have a garden and your family doesn't know you're off. Like, what are you doing with yourself today? You probably don't even know what to do. Hey, Miss Trina. Hey, Lisa. Let's see. I do want to take a little bit of time. Yes, the heat tool could probably take it off as well, the label. Awesome idea. Can it be, I'm just trying to make sure. I want to see some of your comments this morning, or today. It's not morning now. It's noon here in Kentucky. So, hey, Miss Carolyn, glad you're here. All right. I know, twice in one day. Can't believe it. Gooby Gone. Yes, it does. It can work really good, especially on some of those stubborn labels. You know, some of them, the adhesive, not all adhesives are the same. Let's just say that, right? Thank you, Miss Tabitha. Glad you're here. Can you put the fabric in the dryer to dry? I would not, Miss Betty, because if you're talking about once you've coffee grunged it, it can really dirty up your dryer. I would not recommend putting it in your clothes dryer. If anything, if you're wanting to avoid putting it in your oven, just use a heat dryer, like a heat tool or a blow dryer, okay? Or you can set it out in the sun on the sidewalk or on a porch or something like that to dry, okay? On your way to work at Miss Ruth, how are you? Tell Miss Samira I said hello. Give her a big hug for me, please. I love her heart. Okay. I have a label. I've used this label before. Let's flip the camera, shall we? Let's flip. Maybe. There we go. That always throws my brain into like such a weird rubbing haul. Yes, it does. You're right. Rubbing haul does a great job in getting those fingerprints. Uh-oh. Oh, no. I had water on my mat here. That's okay. Let's dry this off. No biggie, no biggie. Let's set this piece of paper down my label here. I have used this label before. I have found it on Etsy. I do probably still have the link available. I think it is from one of my favorite designers' shops over there called the Chocolate Rabbit. I'm pretty sure that's where it came from. Hey, Miss Trina. Yes. You're awesome. Hey, Miss Gail. Thank you for sprinkling us out there. I'm just going to put that down there and kind of dry it, pat it dry. I got to kind of set it down in a little puddle of water. That's okay. That'll just add to the look. All right. I'm going to pull out the coffee Grunge. And we are going to, I probably could just straight edge cut, but we're just going to feather tear it. So I'm just going to take something wet and go down. First time watching. Oh, awesome. Tell me your name. It's Evening Crafters. Okay. I'm just taking that coffee Grunge and going around the edge of that label, and that will soften the paper so I can tear it. Ooh. My hands are a little wobbly. Okay. Now, we're going to feather tear this, and that'll just kind of give us a soft edge instead of a hard straight cut. There we go. Just once I had to get it going. Now this label would look absolutely adorable on a grubby jar. So if you were doing this with a grubby jar technique, you would put the label on first and then do your grubbing technique. Okay. Thank you, Miss Trina. I appreciate you. But we are going to do a farmhouse primitive style method on this one, which is going to involve some chalk paint. It's also still going to involve some instant coffee, but it'll be a little bit different. I don't think I've ever shown you guys. Oh, well, I may have. It may have been on one of my little, I had a Milk for Santa jar that I think I did maybe last Christmas that was similar to this. So you may have seen something similar. Just try that out. Okay. Now for this jar, I'm out of my good white chalk paint. And usually I like to use my white chalk paint mixed in with a little bit of coffee, kind of give it a dingy brown. We're going different. We're going different. So with the theme of coffee in mind, I'm kind of going with this. What is this color? Does it even say? It's called hazelnut. Hazelnut. But we will darken it a little bit. So I've just, I'm out of paper plates, you guys. So I'm going to put some of this in one of my little teacup jars here, or teacups. I don't know why I said teacup jar. Teacup. And I do want to make sure I have enough. And anytime you're mixing together like I don't want to say custom color, but you know, you're making your own shade of paint, you want to make sure you have enough, because you know, you're never going to be able to mix it the same way twice. Probably. Now I'm going to add a little bit of white chalk paint to this. And that's going to kind of give us a little bit of the farmhouse vibe. Maybe. If it'll go in here. This is some thick chalk paint. Okay. We are not going to thin this chalk paint down. Usually when I've used chalk paint in the past, a lot of times I'll thin it down. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Wanda. I said good morning. It's afternoon. It's afternoon already. I just can't believe it. We are going to, I can share the link with you. If you're on my Telegram, let me pop that back up there. I will find the link and share it with you. I'm not sure. I think it's from a designer called Chocolate Rabbit. I'm not totally for sure, but I think so. Okay. We're going to start with just a basic layer of chalk paint on this jar. Now then we're going to add some streaks. We're going to add some color, some shading and things like that to give us the primitive feel to the farmhouse. Okay. I think it's the Chocolate Rabbit, I think, but I will find the direct link for sure, and I'll share it on my Telegram after we're finished today. We're going to give this a good coat. All right. I'm not super worried about streaks, but I definitely don't want to see like any like blank openings. Okay. So I'm not going to worry about the bottom right now because I want to be able to set it down. But after we're finished today off camera, I will finish the bottom. I like everything to be finished from top to bottom and on the backs and all of that anytime I make something. And if you're making something to sell, I would recommend you do the same. Just gives a nice finished presentation. Okay. All right. Some chalk paints will cover thicker, better. You won't know until you get it on there. Now, Waverly chalk paint is usually really good about coverage, I will say. Most of the time, I don't have to worry about doing a second coat with Waverly if I keep it the thick consistency that it is normally. Now, if I thin it down, I will have to probably do 2 coats, but I think we're okay. I do want to make sure I go around the bottom rim. Okay, hazelnut is the color, okay? Now my lighting is a little off in here. I don't have my big lights in here today, so I just noticed a little spot where I put a heavy load on there. Okay, let's dry it. It won't take long to dry. Chalk paint dries pretty quick, so I can chat. I did not prime it. That's right. We just removed the label, washed it real good. If you feel like you still have to, you could use something like Gooey Gone to get the extra gooey off, and also wipe it down with rubbing alcohol if you want. But usually with chalk paint, you can get away with it. Chalk paint sticks really well to glass. If you're going with just a basic craft paint, it's not going to do you any good. It's not going to do you any good if you do that. If you want to prime the jar first, you can give it a layer of like Mod Podge, okay? Just a clear layer of the Mod Podge and let it dry, and then paint over the Mod Podge. That works too, as sort of as a primer, okay? Hey, Miss Pat, how are you? From Henderson, Miss Betty. I was married in Henderson. I'm not far from you at all. Glad you're on today. You've been making all the jars, Stacy. That's awesome. I love it. This color is something I have not used. It's a little bit different. I do like it because most of the colors that I have in my home, for the most part, in like my wide open areas, kitchen, living, dining room areas, are all like browns, creams, and blacks with gray. Now that's kind of a weird combination, and even some navy. So this is kind of a creamy brown. I don't know. I know on camera it's appearing a little bit different because I've got a kitchen light over here. I've got a bright light over my shoulder from the window. But I'll take some good pictures of it later, and you'll get a good idea of the color, the true color that it is. I'm trying to think. No, that lighting is not going to work well either. As it dries, I am seeing a little bit of streaking. So I might go ahead and give it one more quick coat because I do want it to look nice. I do want it to look nice, and we have time, so let's go for it. Especially in those areas where I do feel like I can see through the glass. Okay. Yeah, that'll make the difference. And if it ever gets chipped or hit, you know, sometimes, you know, one little knock can, you know, nick off a little piece of, a little area of paint. And with this double layer, that'll even help prevent that. So it'll be good to have a second coat anyway. And then thank goodness it dries quick. Okay. So how many cups of coffee have you guys had today? How many coffee and cocoa projects have you caught in the Craft on the Clock group today? We have had several. We've started at 6 a.m. this morning, you guys, and we're going all the way up until 10:30 tonight. So you guys have lots of coffee and cocoa inspiration heading your way. I mixed some chalk paint. I mixed the Waverly hazelnut color and just a basic white chalk paint. It's not the Waverly brand. It was just something I had on hand. Yes, hazelnut color. Hazelnut Waverly, and then just a basic white chalk paint. Mix the two together to get a soft, creamy color. And we're still gonna be grunging it up, and the color's gonna change as we go. I'm just showing you the layered effects here that we're going with. This is just our base layer, and then we're gonna keep adding to it to get it the way we want to. I know, Miss Stacy, I'm the same way. I don't drink coffee. I just craft with it. I love the smell of it. And I usually get my husband's coffee ready for him in the morning, but I don't ever drink it. I've tried it once, and to me, I feel like it tastes like dirty water. I don't know. Even with putting stuff in it, I just can't do it. Thank you, Miss Gail. You like the color? Had 3 cups, Joette. Sue has had 2. Oh, goodness. My mom is a big coffee drinker. And my youngest kiddo, Sawyer, he likes coffee too. He'll drink it occasionally. You drink lots and lots of coffee? Oh my goodness, Miss Mary. Decaf? Decaf, I hope, if you've had 6 cups. Oh, that's awesome. Don't drink coffee, never have. Where do we watch all the other crafters? So you'll want to go to the Craft Round the Clock group, okay? We have some imitators out there, but Craft Round the Clock, the R starts with round. It's not a round. It's Craft Round the Clock with an R. And we have around 58,000 members. So if you look for those 2 things, you'll find the right group, okay? And you'll see my name in that group quite a bit. Tracey Campbell, I'm admin over there in that group. So if you head over there to that group, and if you head to a group that's similar and you don't see my name, then you might not be in the right one. But for the most part, if you look for those 2 things, you'll get it. All right. So before we go any more farther, we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this label on. Now, I'm going to look at my jar. I have one little spot right here where I see where the paint is kind of, I must have just missed that spot, or I hit it with the dryer. I don't know. So that's where my label's going to go. That's where my label's going to go. And I'm just going to use, I have some homemade sort of Mod Podge. I ran out of Mod Podge a while ago, and I thought I had tons of school glue that I had used for my little pumpkin spice little, gosh, my brain is just not working. My pumpkin spice little pumpkins. How do you like that? My brain cannot think of the name of them. But I had to use that school glue for those, and I had a ton of it left over. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make my own version of my Mod Podge. And Miss Pat from Unique, she does that. And so she's inspired me. And I think she has a recipe pinned at the top of her page. If you go to her crafting page is called Unique. And you can find her recipe on her mixture. I can't even remember it off the top of my head. But it's not hard to do. I do know that. School glue and I think water. Okay, so I'm putting that label on. And I kind of want to make sure I have it somewhat centered here. I do know that I will sometimes go a little bit, position this a little bit lower rather than higher, because depending on what kind of topper I put on my jar, I want to make sure that my label is not hidden too much, okay? So I will position it a little bit lower down on the jar, not directly centered. So, and I learned that the hard way one time. Now I'm just going to get these corners to make sure that they get down really good. And my Mod Podge, my homemade Mod Podge rather, does have cinnamon in it. I put some cinnamon in it, so you can almost see the little cinnamon granules in this when you put it on, which is kind of cool. I just want to make sure that I get those edges down good. Okay. Now, smooth it down. This is what we have so far. Now this color is looking more green on camera than it really is. It's not green whatsoever. It's the lighting. So weird. So weird. Okay. So what we're going to do next, let me think about this. I want some streaks on this in my Mod Podge. Now my Mod Podge already has a little bit of coloring to it. I've put instant coffee and cinnamon in it, like I said. But I want even more than that, okay? There's Miss Pat, her owl paste. 3 parts water, 3 parts white glue and 1 part water. You're right. Awesome. Thank you, Miss Pat. Do I have that printable? I'm going to share that printable link with you on my Telegram channel. And if you see my Telegram link is below, if not, you can click. There should be a little link icon in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Tap that and it'll say featured post. And it'll give you a link to my Telegram. And I'm going to share that link. I'm going to grab it when I get off of the live today and share that with you. So I'm going to load my brush up with Mod Podge, my homemade Mod Podge, whatever you want to call it. And I have a mixture of instant coffee and cinnamon on this plate left over from a project this morning. So I'm going to kind of double dip. I've just loaded my brush like that. And I'm going to start doing this. Okay, do you see what it's doing? Don't panic. Don't panic. It's good. It's going to be good. And I'm going to go over it. And you will see that instant coffee starts to dissolve and melt. And it's going to give you some yummy streaks. Let me turn it this way. See that? The lighting is giving me fits, you guys. I will promise to take a good photo of this when we're finished today after it dries, and I will share it with you. I'll share it with you on my Telegram channel as well, because I know sometimes Facebook doesn't show you everything. And sometimes you may forget to come and look at the picture. So I will share it on my Telegram, and that way you'll get a notification when I share it with you. But this is giving us some yummy streaks, and what it's also doing is it's going to give us that protective layer on that paint as well. Okay, so we're kind of doing double duty here. Now this little jar has a little bit of a ridge in it, and I don't really want that ridge to be super noticeable, so I'm trying to be careful and make sure that I do get the coverage in that little ridge. You see, I'm just dipping back and forth. Mod Podge to the instant coffee, back and forth. Brush it on. If you get it on a little thick, like I did right there, just go over it with a little bit extra pressure, and it will smooth it out, okay? I do want to make sure that everything is coated, and pay special attention around the bottom here. Now, if this were a real coffee container, canister, whatever, I think we might add a little extra grubbiness around the rim. Okay, up here at the top, I haven't gone super heavy up there, so I need to make sure to go around and make sure I get that covered. And this looks good on any kind of jar that you use, you guys. You could go coffee, molasses. This would look really cool on like a gingerbread cookie jar or something like that. But it gives you that lighter undertone, okay? Whoop, I just got Mod Podge on my face, I think, you guys. Whereas this is darker. You can mix and match your colors. You wouldn't want everything in your house to be the same technique. So if you mix and match some of your jar techniques, you get a little bit more variety with what you're working with, okay? So like, let me set that over here. This one is apple butter, okay? How cute. I mean, these would pair well together. They still have the same color tones to them, but they're not all the same. So use a different variety in sizes, variety in shapes of your jars, variety of like toppers, variety of paint techniques, and it'll look a little bit more cohesive. They'll still kind of coordinate, but not be super matchy-matchy. Thank you, Miss Stacy. This is a new one. So let's dry it a little bit. And then I'm probably going to add a little bit of extra grubbiness around the top just so that it looks like we may have had some like spilled out coffee beans. I don't know what we'll do. But the top, I need to decide on a topper. I don't know if I have any of my big topper pieces left. I know I'm out of my what you call it? I'm out of my cheesecloth as well. I see an area on my label that I didn't get covered, so I need to make sure I do this. Now this Mod Podge, it's kind of matte, but at the same time it will still have a little bit of a sheen, so I can tell when it starts to dry what areas I didn't get covered. So I'm gonna make sure that that's good and covered. Just so that it all looks the same. I don't want like one dry matte patch and then the rest of it have a little bit of a sheen. I want it to all kind of look together. Look cohesive? Is that the word I'm looking for? No, my brain is not coming up with words real good right now. Hey, Miss Sue. Yes, you could. You could even make a big jar and use it to put your K-cups in or something like that. You could even use this technique on, I'm sure you could still use this same technique on wood. It would still be fine if you had a wood box that you wanted to do this technique with. You could do that as well and use it to store your K-cups in. That would be cute. Okay, so we took that light finish and we've added those streaks and those layers to it. Okay. You thought it was a different day, Lisa, because I've been on twice today. We had a good crowd this morning. We had over 600 watchers this morning. You guys blew me away. Now that's not all the way quite dry yet. I'm going to set that right there. And I am going to pull out. These were the baked coffee grunged circles cutouts that I showed you guys how I do mine. And I store them in like a quart-size baggie, okay? Zip them up, and then it's there whenever I'm ready to do a bunch of jar projects. I have all little topper pieces all right here ready, and I have a little template in here. And these will fit several different styles of the jars that I do. And I just keep a little template stashed in the center there, and that way when I get low and I need to cut more, the template's already there. Can these be used for items, or are they purely decorative? I don't think, I don't know. I've never really tried to wash them. I suppose if you were really good and you were really sure that you sealed them really well, you probably could hand wash them. I don't think they would go through, like I wouldn't put them in the dishwasher or anything like that. I don't think they would stand up very well. There is dishwasher safe Mod Podge. I can't really say that I've ever tried it. Okay, I kind of going to pull these out and kind of look at them. You know, some batches are lighter than others. Some are darker than others. See how this one is lighter than this batch. This one had a lot more cinnamon in it. And I probably baked this one for a little bit longer, so it's a little extra crisp than this one. So I'm kind of going for one that kind of pulls in a little bit of the darkness from the label there. Okay. All right. So if you want my tips on how to do these, go back and catch my replay from this morning. Okay. If you're watching live today. Do I know how to revert? Okay. Do I know how to do the reverse printing from a computer? Yes, you can. You wouldn't have to do that on this though, because you're printing the label out on paper. You wouldn't have to reverse it on this though, Shane, I don't think. I may have missed something. Are we frozen? How would cocoa chocolate powder work instead or with the cinnamon? I've never tried that. That's a good idea. Never tried it. Would it work on a Tide's plastic container? I think so. I think so. I've never used a Tide plastic container, but in my mind, it's a little bit thicker, a little bit more durable and heavy duty. Just try it and see. Try it and see. That's true, Kim. You might get bugs with chocolate. You're right. I didn't think about that. unless you sealed it really, really well. I don't know. Fine on you. Thank you, Miss Lisa. Appreciate it. I'm frozen for some. I'm frozen, not frozen for others. If I'm frozen, head out, clear out your Facebook app and then reopen it, and maybe we'll be okay. Hey, Miss Kim. Watching, thought you were seeing things, Brenda. That's funny. Oh, rats. Why did I just stick my hands right in that? Whoopsie daisy. That's not all the way dry. Let's prop that dryer up a little bit so we can keep drying while we work. Okay, so I have this circle. This is probably a little bit smaller than what I would typically use. Yeah, it is. It is smaller. I'll go ahead and show you what I do with it, and then I'll probably have to replace it with one of my bigger circles. I have, let's see, what did I do with that bag? I have 2 different size circles that I use for different jar projects, and this is my smaller one. So this works well with like the shorter, like spaghetti sauce jars and things like that. Even the smaller pickle jars and even my baby grub jars. But this one is a little bit bigger than what I usually do. So my bigger circles, I did not dig those out. So I'll have to replace it probably with a bigger one later. But it'll work for now. You'll get the idea. So typically what I'll do to make sure I get this good and centered, I place my circle upside down. Like I want this to be my top, so I'm going to lay it face down, okay? And then I'll take my jar and I'll place it on that circle so I can kind of eyeball and make sure that I have it centered, okay? And then all I do is I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm going to start with a line of glue around the rim of that jar. And what I'll do next is take this and pinch and press it up against the rim of that jar, and that will help me get make sure that it's on there good. And then I'll finish it off with a little bit of homespun, or you can do twine. Could use cheesecloth. I'm out of my cheesecloth. I have to get some more. But that hot glue helps hold it in place until you put your little fabric spin on it, your little tie on it. Now, I will say that having this glue on there also helps if you want to change out, like if your color scheme changes in your home, or you want to switch it out for like a different season color, a little fabric tie, you can take the tie off and just easily just add a new tie on without having to reattach this every time. Believe me, I've learned the hard way. It's a lot easier to do this rather than trying to hold it and tie it and all that at the same time. Yes, it's muslin material. Thank you, Miss Deanie, for answering in the comments. I so appreciate you. It's just muslin material that has been coffee grunged and baked. Okay. You know what? I kind of like this look. Now that I've got it on here, I wish it was just a tad bit bigger of a circle to go around, but let me show you. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. It almost reminds me that it's like a paper type topper, but look at that. Isn't that cool? That's really cool. I like the little pinch pleats to it. I pleated it as the glue. I really like that look right there. Now, if you're going with a lighter colored fabric, what you can do, and I do this sometimes, here's my little sponge. I will dip my little sponge into my coffee grunge if I want just a little bit more color. Mine's pretty dark. I'm not going to probably get a lot more color on it that'll show, but I want to show you. If you use one of these lighter circles like this one, you see what I did? Take it, a little sponge brush, I loaded it too much, and go around the edge like that, and it'll kind of give you a little bit of a stained look. Let me grab a paper towel because this is dripping everywhere. Gosh, I really loaded it. Are you kidding me? Every time I go to let go, it drips. So I can go around the rim, and it's probably not going to be real visible on this one, like I said, because it's already pretty dark. I baked this one a little bit longer, and so it has a little bit more of that dark color, but that will give you a little bit definition around the rim. And then I will go around and let this sponge catch those pleats, and it will also help darken those pleats. For example, on this jar, take that sponge and rub it down those pleats those little creases, and that gives you even more character. Okay, soak your little fabric tie. Okay, this little fabric tie, soak it up good. And not only that will give you the color, but it's also going to give you the wonderful smell. Yeah, that we like. Oh, goodness, that scared me. The wind blew my little garage door shut out there. Scared me because it's like right here on the other side of the wall. Shook the wall. Okay. Now, I don't even know if I'm going to add a tie to this one. I like it the way it is. Miss Lisa, I usually don't. But here recently, I have started to a little bit. It just kind of depends on the timing, what time I have available to make them. My daughter was trying to raise money to buy a saddle, and around here, it's hard for kids her age to find a job. It just is. And she was really wanting to, to make her own money to buy a new saddle. She's a barrel. She likes to barrel race. And so we did. We made up a bunch of jars and we posted them over in the Craft Around the Clock group. There's an option over there. We have are turning that into also a marketplace option where you can buy things that creatives make, buy them for gifts or decoration or home decor or whatnot. But we posted them over there. I always let I always let my Telegram channel subscribers know when I'm going to be posting things like that. And so you just never know. I never know when I'll have some things available. I do hope to have another big batch of items available at some point, probably before Christmas for sure. But we are anticipating moving soon. And so I don't know what my timeline looks like just yet. So you all stay tuned to my Telegram channel. Check it regularly, my Telegram channel, because that's where I let you know first. And that's where you can surely get the dependable notifications. Can't always depend on Facebook to show you the things that you want to see. Okay. But there we go. How cool is that? I love it. It turned out even better than I thought. I'm not even missing the little fabric tie. And I kind of like that it's a little bit shorter of a lid. Happy surprise today. How about that? I love that. And it's, you could go lighter. You could go darker. Make it your own, you guys. Make it your own. You could use a different color of paint on the jar, and that would even give you a slightly different look as well. And so, yeah, mix and match. How cool would this be to make a set of these? If you have, several jars that are the same size, or make a 3-piece set, make a small, medium, and large, that would look so cute. I have another pickle jar over here. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. Mix and match the different sizes. See, I could make like a little 3-piece set, make them look like some vintage canisters. That would be awesome too. Thank you all so much for joining me for round 2 today. Oh my gracious, you guys, how much fun are we having with Coffee and Cocoa Day? We have more crafters lined up all day today, up until 10:30 Central Time tonight. And if you can't catch it live, if you're watching this later and you want to watch, some of these coffee and cocoa themed projects later, you can go to the Craft on the Clock group, and there's a little magnifying glass in the top corner usually, and you can type in that search box and hashtag coffee and cocoa, and it will pull up all of the coffee and cocoa themed live streams and photos that are related to the Coffee and Cocoa Day. Thank you so much. I love you guys. I will send out the link for this printable on my Telegram channel here in just a few minutes. Thanks for joining me today. Our next crafter is coming up in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I'll see you soon, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.